He built an entire second family on a lie. The DNA test burned all of it down in one afternoon. My brother Cassian called me on a Tuesday in February, sounding like a man who had just watched the floor dissolve beneath him. He was not crying. Cassian does not cry. He was speaking in the flattened, methodical tone of someone who has sustained a significant injury and has not yet processed whether to sit down or keep walking. He told me his wife Petra had asked for a divorce. He told me the reason. Then he told me about the tests. Petra had been raising a child she believed was hers for 6 years. Her daughter Ren, bright, particular, obsessed with maps and weather systems, had been conceived during what Petra had understood to be a committed reconciliation period in their marriage following an earlier separation. What Petra had not known was that Cassian, during that same reconciliation period, had maintained a parallel relationship with a woman named Simone. What Simone had not known was that the child she had delivered and raised alone for 6 years, a boy named Felix, had a father who was also raising another child in a house 40 minutes away. Cassian had known about Felix since before the boy could walk. He had been sending Simone money through a channel he described to me, without apparent irony, as discreet. He had visited irregularly. He had constructed, with considerable administrative effort, a life in which two families occupied the same city and the same calendar without ever intersecting. It had taken 6 years, one insurance document filed incorrectly, and a woman named Petra who noticed a name on a bank statement and did not let it go. The DNA test was Petra's idea. She had not told Cassian she was doing it. She had simply, with the quiet efficiency of someone who had already made a decision and was now collecting confirmation, arranged for the testing and waited for the results. The results were not surprising to anyone who knew the facts. They were, however, documented. I asked Cassian during that phone call what exactly he wanted from me. There was a long pause. He said he needed someone in his corner. He said the situation was complicated and that he had made mistakes, but that the children were innocent and that Petra was threatening to involve lawyers who would make everything worse. I told him the children were absolutely innocent. I told him he was correct about that. Then I told him I was not going to be in his corner. He went quiet in a way that suggested this was not the response he had mapped out. I told him that Petra deserved honest legal representation, and that Simone deserved the same, and that Felix deserved a father who acknowledged him in daylight rather than through discreet banking channels. I told him that my being in his corner would require me to stand somewhere I was not willing to stand. He hung up. What followed over the next 4 months, I know partly through family channels and partly through Petra herself, who called me once, briefly, not for advice but simply, I think, to speak to someone connected to Cassian, who was not actively managing her perception of events. I listened. I did not defend him. She thanked me, and I have not heard from her since. The legal proceedings are ongoing. Cassian is now formally acknowledged as Felix's father, which means Felix has a father on paper and Ren has a half-brother she has not yet been told about in terms she can fully absorb. Two family court dockets carry my brother's name. He has retained an attorney who by all accounts is expensive and pragmatic. Simone, I am told, is doing better than anyone expected. She strikes me from a distance as someone who is always more prepared for the truth than the people around her assumed. I have not spoken to Cassian since that Tuesday call. He sent a message at the new year that I read and did not answer. It was not hostile. It was the message of a man hoping that enough time had created enough distance to make the past negotiable. Some distances do not work that way.